Hey everyone, Egman here with another video, and we finally made it. We have the release of 1.0. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this, even though like a lot of the 1.0 cards have kind of been floating around since the pre-release back in November. And I also know that cards are still kind of scarce with how much Bandai has printed and everything, but we are technically here. I can technically say that the game has been released, and as part of that, I've been in the 1.0 meta for a really long time, and I've already kind of started shifting to looking at the 1.5 meta. So instead of doing a top 10 list of cards that are in the 1.0 set, I'm going to do more of top 10 cards to keep from the 1.0 set that might not be really expensive right now, but I can definitely foresee being expensive going into the 1.5. And cards you should really save or maybe buy now if you're wanting to look at any of the 1.5 meta. So we're going to do that. Also, if you guys are purchasing any cards or any singles, any sealed product on TCG Player, please consider using my link in the description. If you use that link and then buy any cards off TCG Player, I get a little bit of a kickback, and it just helps me out, and it's just kind of a free way for you guys to support me if you're buying cards anyways, and I really appreciate that support. So that aside, let's go into number 10.
Number 10.
For number 10, we've got Metal Edamon. A little bit of a slow start for the list, but he's a big 6-drop that just says, your turn, this Digimon can't be blocked by your opponent's Digimon, and opponent's turn, this Digimon gets plus 2k DP. And so nothing too fancy, especially for like a level 6, but the main reason that this card is on this list is for the level 5 Edamon. It's a blocker that when it gets KO'd, you're able to look at the top 5 cards of your deck and play a Metal Edamon from the top 5. So nothing, still a little bit janky, so like this is number 10 on the list, right? So nothing too crazy. But I've been running this card in a level 7 black deck that's been really working for me. And the Edamon's not necessarily just for, you don't always hit the top 5 effect, right? It is a little bit cheese, a little bit RNG. But just the fact that your opponent might be afraid to pop your level 5, because if you get just one of these Edamons to work and you get a level 6 out for free, you normally just win the game, because your opponent normally spent a little bit of aggression or tempo or resources to get rid of your guy, and for it to just pop out a level 6 for free can really help you, especially if you've got some good level 7s to go on top of it. So I like the card. I think it is a little bit cheesy, not the best, and not for a lot of decks, but it's the one that we started for number 10, and it's where it's at. So there's that card, and let's move to number 9.
Number 9.
For number 9, we've got Wizardmon. I know this card's kind of already used for purple decks right now anyways, but it's just going to be a lot better when we have a lot more of the purple-yellow synergy. It's just a level 4 that says both players' turns, if you have a yellow Digimon, gain Vengeance, which is fantastic, and then also has a 1 destroyed, draw 1. So that destroyed, draw 1 is normally what people use it for right now anyways, and I know people are still using purple-yellow decks without, their big win conditions, but I think this is going to be a real staple card in those decks going into 1.5. When there's more of that synergy release for it, and it's just a good card. It's already a good card for purple, but with that boost of having more yellow cards to run aside it, it's going to be a really, really good card. So I like it a lot. It's really cheap. It's just a common card, but make sure you have a playset if you want to do any purple-yellow stuff in 1.5.
Number 8.
Next up, we've got the Izzy Tamer. We all know that the Mimi Tamer is really good, but with green next set, we have a lot of the download. I think that it's being localized as Digisorption, but essentially what it does is that you're able to kind of burn some resources to Digivolve for free, which can be really oppressive and stuff. But mostly when playing that deck, I've noticed that since you get all this free memory and free devolution stuff going on, you're more running out of cards to play than you are with memory. So Mimi obviously is a good choice for the deck, and it makes sense. But I've been running it with Izzy a lot, just because you're able to get that card draw. It says if you have a level 5 or more green Digimon, by resting this card, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a Digimon, add it to your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your deck. So just being able to get extra draws every turn, I think, is important for the deck. You need something to do with your memory, since you're doing a lot of free stuff. And if you find more cards and you find more of your resources, I feel like you're in the spot. So with those Digisorption download decks just running out of steam a lot of the time, if you get rid of their main chain, being able to use Izzy to kind of gain more card advantage throughout the game and maybe get that run back is, I think, really good. So that's why I like the card. You guys might not like it, but I think it has a really good spot in those feature 1.5 green decks.
Number 7.
Next, we've got Skull Greymon. It's this level 5. You hard cast for 7 and says, when played, destroy one of your opponent's Digimon with blocker. This is more of just future in general. Right now, there's not a lot of cards with blocker. Essentially, most colors only have one card that have blocker on them. But as we get more sets and more cards, there's just going to be more and more blocker cards. And this is just like one of the best hard cast level 5s that Red has, if not the best. Just because it has a good amount of DP and it can go 1-for-1, like just being able to KO one of your opponent's cards for playing it. It has a lot of resources for it. So nothing too flashy and nothing too specific for 1.5, but I do think this is a card that you do want to play set of now because it's just going to keep coming up as we go on and on as more control decks kind of show up. Because 1.0 meta is more of kind of like Turbo Rush and that kind of stuff, but once we get to more like black control or purple control decks, we're able to use this guy to its full value and get more consistent pops with Skull Greymon. That can also lead to our level 6s and maybe even level 7 Digimon.
Number 6.
For number 6, we've got Diaboromon right here. There's the alt art and the regular art one, but and this is more for just down the road already. But they just kind of announced in BT5 that there's going to be some support for this card, and it looks really, really good. So if you haven't already noticed, the price for these cards have already gone up. So if you get any Diaboromons from, and like I'm happy I kept mine. I've got a playset, and on release I probably could have sold them for like I think $20 total, but now one Diaboromon's going for 20, I think. So it's just a good card to hold on to because we do know that BT5 is going to really boost this card in the future. So look out for that. It's not technically getting boosted in 1.5, so that's why it's out of the top 5 for this list. But it's definitely a good card to keep around. And if you have any left from like the pre-release or anything, definitely hold on to this card. I think it's going to go up in value as we get more and more sets as well. Maybe not necessarily in 1.5, but definitely if we get the Japanese set 5, there will be a lot of support for this card. So we're outside of the top 5, but we are going into it with number 5.
Number 5.
For number 5, we've got Rosemon right here. I know this card's already kind of good, but it has the effect that opponent's turn, when one of your opponent's Digimon attacks the player or security, if this Digimon is in rest one of your opponent's Digimon. So it's already kind of good in that way, but I think the way that that download or Digisorption works can really help it out. So when you're going into the level 5 Digisorption card, I think there's 2 that comes out this set. You're able to rest itself as like or the card you're digivolving on top of to do the digisorption cost. So which all that means is that you can digivolve a Digimon into rest mode. So let's say you just have a 4 out, then you can digivolve a level 5 with download, rest itself, and then you can do the Rosemon on top of that. So the fact that you can like go into this Rosemon where it's already rested, you don't have to swing with it. Even if you don't have enough memory to attack with it when you digivolve with it doesn't matter because it comes out in rest, or you don't have to worry about going into your opponent's security or something. I think that's just really good. And additionally, from there, when green gets a level 7, I don't think level 7 comes out in 1.5. I don't think it's BT4. But once there's like a level 7 to really capitalize on this as well, I think it's really, really good. So that's the idea for this card. I think it's good already, but the way to, since you can essentially digivolve into rest mode with download, I think it's just going to be better because of that. So that's the idea there. And let's move on to number 4.
Number 4.
Next up, we've got the Blue Vidramon Secret Rare from 1.0. I think the card's already kind of good by itself. It has this when attacking once per turn. If you have a tamer, make this Digimon active, and then both players' turn. If you have a blue tamer, this Digimon gets 1k DP as inheritable. So it's pretty good by itself. And then there's just all this Vidramon support in general that's coming out in 1.5. So I think it's a contender for there. The fact that it also unsuspends itself with its own effect can be really good based on what the eggs and the level 3 look like for this. So I think it's a good card. Definitely have like 1 or 2 I think in the deck, and even if you do pull this, I would consider holding on to it before selling it, just because I think when 1.5 is coming out, the price of this card is going to go up. So that's the idea for this card. I think it's already good, but I think once again it's going to be better with the support that's coming out for just Vidramon in general next set.
Number 3.
For number 3, we've got the 3-cost Kairi Tamer right here. We also have an honorable mention for the 4-cost TK Tamer, but I think the Kairi one is just the one that strictly gets better with 1.5. TK already kind of sees some play, but it's more of spoilers if you don't know. There's a really good yellow archetype that just is just around having a lot of yellow tamers out. So that just is a really good archetype. So obviously you want to have both those cards in the deck, but yellow next set, whereas 1.0, I think yellow is more about strictly healing. 1.5 kind of expands about that and has more of security management, where you can heal or deal damage to yourself, and then if you're under a certain amount of security, you get an amount of effects. So I think that's really good, and just the fact that if your opponent's playing against you, they want to make sure you're lower security. So to get kind of that boost when you're behind, I think is really helpful. And then already having effects when you're not behind is good too. So I think it's a good card. It's well costed, and it can make it really annoying to make your opponent kind of sit at 4 security for you and not want to do anything. But then you can also ping your own security and then get your effects next turn. So I think there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this card and the archetype in general. So that's why it's number 3, and let's move on to number 2.
Number 2.
For number 2, we've got Leopardmon, the alt art and the regular art right there. But I think this is a really good card that's kind of not looked at right now. I think Metal Garurumon kind of outshines it, but it still has a lot of cool stuff, and I think there are more cards to kind of abuse the effects of it in the next set. So it has 1 Digivolved. You may play 1 level 4 or less Digimon from one of your Digimon Digivolution sources without paying its cost. And then your turn, your level 4 Digimon have jamming. So that's really, really good, especially just the fact that you're able to free play something from under one of your cards is amazing. We already see that with the blue Metal Garurumon. Being able to play cards for free is good, but you kind of have to have 3 energy open or 3 memory open for your Metal Garurumon to do anything. And since this is just when you play or when you Digivolve with it, you don't have to really care about what your memory's at. You still get the free play, and then also getting all jamming for all those Digimon is, I think, really important too. Especially one of the cards that we just talked about, Vidramon. If this card has jamming, it's really good, because then your choose swings don't really matter about what's in your opponent's security as long as it's not Gaia Force. But I really like this card. I think it's good. I think it's overlooked already, and there are definitely some more cards that come out next set I think can abuse it, especially since it's not restricted just playing blue Digimon either. It's kind of like Kaustinen. Kaustinen seeing a lot of play right now in kind of weird decks, and I think Kaustinen on a level 6 body is just amazing. So that's the idea for that, and I think it's going to have some good support in this next set.
Number 1.
And for number 1, we've got Angemon right here. I really like this card already, but I think it can just totally take off next set. It's one of my favorite level 5s in the game to just hardcast right out. It has this when played recovery 1, super simple, but it's really what I've really noticed is that being able to hardcast level 5s with good effects is worth it, depending on your deck, especially if you got a really good level 6 you want to go into next turn. Because even though you give your opponent a lot of memory, if they can't interact with your card, then it's fine, right? You're good to really go with it, and I think this is just one of the best ones, because even if it is giving your opponent a little bit too much memory, you're still able to kind of get some recovery. You get recovery +1, so you're able to kind of hedge your bets a little bit, because you can say, oh well, they're able to interact with it, but then you're able to just get that extra life, so you can kind of make it not as risky as something especially playing a Skull Greymon for 7 instead, where you can pop one of your opponent's cards, but if they can just go up another chain, it didn't really do much. So I like this card a lot, especially with Mastriumon coming out. Being able to just play this for 7 and get a extra life, and then going onto Mastriumon, and then use that effect, so you lose the life, so it's +0 security gain, and you also get to play your level 4 for free. It just seems really good, and I like that combo a lot. And that is it. That is my top 10 cards in 1.0 that I think will be good in 1.5. Obviously, there's a lot of good cards in 1.0, and this list was mostly just to highlight cards that will be better in the future, but not necessarily in the 1.0 meta. But let me know if there's any cards that you think I missed for this list. And definitely, once again, if you guys are buying any cards from TCG Player, please consider using my link in the description below. I would really appreciate it, and it would help me out a lot. And that's really it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck with your 1.0 cards, and I'll catch you all next time.